Number one is people with Asperger syndrome tend not to be superficial. These are 5 enlightening truths about Aspies. Are we perfect? Obviously not, but there are some very positive traits about those of us who are autistic, and we are considered high functioning autistic, which basically means we have average or above average IQs. And the first that I came up with as I'm going back, just kind of looking around my life experience and that of other people with Asperger syndrome, is they just don't tend to be superficial. They are authentic. So you're never going to find a person with Asperger syndrome who is putting on airs. I mean, sometimes we do some masking because, well, it's a matter of survival. But when you're dealing with a person with Asperger syndrome, chances are what you see is what you get. This is the real person. There's nothing underlying. There's no, I mean, yeah, again, as I said earlier, sometimes we do masking, but we're not very good at it, and it's very easy to see what is beneath the mask. Now, that's good or bad, depending on the individual that we're dealing with. There are some, yeah, I know, who like to take advantage of us because, well, if we can't wear a mask, then our weaknesses, I should say, are out there for display. But still, I think it is a very good, positive thing that we are not superficial. Now, because of that, we tend to be individuals who appreciate things. For example, if you have a job, you're grateful for your job. You have income, you're grateful for your income. I don't know about you people, but I'm stopping to think right now about where I live and the time in which I live. That human beings, okay, we have problems as societies, we know that. But I was having lunch with my brother today, and we were looking out the window of the restaurant and noticing all the vehicles going up and down the highway. Most people don't notice that when they're having lunch, but we're talking about that a few years ago. People didn't have vehicles. If you wanted to go somewhere, you had to walk. You had to ride a horse. You had a horse and buggy if you were well-to-do. A lot of people didn't. So we lived in a time, or they lived in a time, we're talking 150 years ago, that if you wanted to go to the grocery store, you walked, or you rode your horse. The general store, whatever they called it back then. Everybody walked everywhere, and we were kind of looking around the restaurant, noticing. Pardon us for being judgmental, but noticing how chubby people were, that's a polite term, because, well, we don't walk anymore. Everywhere we go, we drive. Now, the interesting thing is we drove to the restaurant. So that was a long way to go. So we're not superficial. We do have gratitude and appreciate for things that other people just take for granted because, well, that's the way that we are hardwired. Our family. We appreciate our family. I know. Chances are, if you're a human, you probably have some family members somewhere that are abusive or not very kind to you, but still there are those probably who are considerate and kind and helpful, and you appreciate those people. So that is an enlightening truth about people with Asperger syndrome. The second thing that came to mind was we have this amazing ability to self-reflect. We do this a lot. I guess it's because we tend to be alone a lot, maybe. But, I sometimes spend an hour laying in bed before I go to sleep, and I'm just, it's kind of ruminating, but ruminating is not always negative. Sometimes you're just reflecting on positive things or just thinking. For example, putting together these videos, I've got to think, right? I've got to do some self-reflection about what I've experienced in my life and what I have seen others experience in their lives. I'm pushing 70 years old, a few months away from being 70, and over these 7 decades, I've observed a lot. And the reason I do these videos is just to share with people who are younger than I am what I went through when I was at your stage in life. Maybe I can help you out along the way. So we have this ability of self-reflection. I have never met a person with Asperger syndrome, and I know they're out there, but I've never met one who didn't have the ability to self-reflect about himself and his life. That is incredible as long as we use it in a positive way. Now, sometimes we self-reflect and we come up with, I hate to say it, but we come up with some very negative conclusions. Yeah, I know, because I do the same thing. But still, we have that amazing ability to do that. More so, I believe, than anybody else. Number 3 is we tend to be authentic. Now, one of the flaws people see in people with Asperger syndrome is we tend to be too nice. Again, no, there are exceptions, but we tend to be incredibly considerate, nice, polite, whatever. Why is that? Well, it's because we're not trying to be nice. We're just being authentic. We're being real. This is who we are. Now, if you want to see a nice person, or somebody, I should say, treat you nice, I've said this a lot, go to a used car lot. The guy who comes out the door, when you walk on the lot, that is a really nice person. I mentioned earlier that we went to lunch, and the waitress was a really nice person. Waitresses are always nice people because they want a tip. So you don't know, maybe this person is nice when they're not at work, but you don't know. But with a person with Asperger syndrome, typically what you see is what you get. Well, what if they're not nice people? You got to admit, not everyone with Asperger syndrome is nice. Well, again, they're authentic. At least you know what you're getting. There's we try to wear this mask, as I mentioned earlier, but they don't fit very well, and people can almost always see beneath the mask. They know what's going on. So we try to be, or we tend to be, authentic. Number 4 is we're sometimes painfully responsible, but if you hire a person with Asperger syndrome, chances are you're going to find somebody working for you who is reliable, who is dependable, who will show up on time, who will learn the work, who is loyal to you and your company. You have the ideal employee, except they have this thing called mind blindness, and they don't always fit in. But there's something that is very enlightening about Aspies, is they tend to be responsible people. Number 5 is we have this underlying sense of well-being. Now, I emphasize the word underlying because most every Aspie I know has this tumultuous mindset because of abuse in the past. And I don't want to diminish that in any way, but beneath that, underlying is a sense of well-being, because Aspies tend to be painfully honest. They don't have guilt, or they shouldn't have guilt, or they have very little guilt. I got to admit, I got some guilt about the way that I have treated people in the past, but there's not much of it. And if I have mistreated somebody in the past, I will try to go and make up for that mistreatment somehow, some way. I remember like 40 years ago, I went to lunch with a guy, and I forgot my wallet, and he got stuck paying the bill. I just forgot about it. I just went on, but I happened to see the guy's insurance agent, and I happened to see his ad on Facebook. I said, man, I owe that guy lunch. So here we are 40 years later, so I went and bought some gift cards from restaurants, and I mailed them to him, and a little note say, hey, I forgot to pay for your lunch back in 1970, whatever. But, I don't know about you, but I think most people with Asperger syndrome are really disturbed when things are not right. We don't like that guilt, and we'll do whatever we need. People think we're naive and gullible. Maybe we are, but we don't like that. So we have that underlying sense of well-being that if we hurt people, and we know what it's like to be hurt because we have been, but we have that underlying sense of being honest and doing what is right. So we have that underneath burden of what I would call life experiences that I mentioned earlier, where we've been rejected and abused, left alone, mistreated, and that has affected us. But again, to reemphasize, underneath all of that, we have peace. Underneath all of that, we've got this reality that, for the most part, we have been honest, decent, good people. And we really have. There are exceptions. I got to emphasize that. But by and large, people with Asperger syndrome, they're just honest. This is the way that nature has put us together. Let's keep on talking if you want. See those 2 rectangles on the screen? If you want the conversation to continue, all you got to do is click one of those 2 rectangles and we keep on talking. But if not, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see y'all next time.